For someone that is interested in purchasing cryptocurrency, they've seen our prior episodes, they're intrigued, they want to buy some, where would they start?
So I think one of the first things you have to figure out is what coin you want to purchase, and then work backwards to what exchange supports those coins.
Okay, so not all exchanges carry all the coins.
Correct. So there's certain exchanges that will most likely carry Bitcoin because that's like the first one.
Yeah.
And then based on the altcoins, as they like to say, certain exchanges may or may not carry the altcoin. It might have to do with the technology on the back end of the exchange or the regulation of where the exchange exists and who they're actually selling it to.
Okay, so each state has their own regulation, or is this a big federal regulation?
So it's like the Wild West right now.
Okay.
There's certain regulations that we aren't really privy to, but the exchanges doesn't want to do it that way. But it's more turning into the AML KYC standard, where it's and the AML is anti-money laundering, and KYC is know your customer. And so as you connect to an exchange nowadays, it's becoming more and more like almost an extension of your bank. So they're going to ask you for your private information so they can secure the fact that you, in fact, are doing the purchase.
All right, so that's normal that they ask you for your ID.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I found my coin, I found an exchange I would like to use. Do I directly attach my bank account? Can I use cash for the exchange? How does that work?
So the way it's going to work is you will connect to it via an ACH or a wire, or you can use a Cash App. Some exchanges will use a Cash App as well.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I put my money in the exchange. I purchased my coin. I'm very happy. Should I feel comfortable leaving my coins on that exchange?
So I think it's really important to pull your money off of the exchange as soon as that's possible. And with ACH, there's usually a 5-day hold, and the purchasing those coins in that fashion, you're going to be held to those regulations. And as soon as that happens, then you can pull it off.
So you're saying that after the 5-day period, take your coins. Where am I pulling it off from?
So right now I'm saying that. And
Yeah.
the reason for that is there's no insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So if the exchange gets hacked, you're basically at the mercy of the exchange, who will either make you whole or will say, "I'm sorry, we just don't have it."
Gotcha.
So in that sense, I'm a big fan of pulling the money off the exchange onto a cold storage wallet, which is basically it's another address on the blockchain, but you can't get access to it because the wallet is turned off. So it's air gapped, and that'll allow you to rest.
Be more secure?
Yeah, a little bit more security.
Okay, so what type of security does these cold wallets offer?
So they offer a combination of a mathematical chip,
Okay.
and that kind of gets into the technology of blockchain.
Okay.
And that, remember in the previous episodes we said that blockchain is a database on steroids. Well, that database idea comes back here. And so you have a public key and a private key with databases. And that's the same thing with these cold storage wallets. So your public key would be your actual wallet address on the blockchain, and your private key will be made up of a bunch of words, either 12 or 24 words, and that makes a mathematical computation from the chip that's on your device, which actually secures your coins to that device.
So is that what you mean, not your keys, not your wallet?
Yeah. So if you have your money on an exchange, you don't have access to your private keys on the exchange. Somebody else's keys, you're using somebody else's keys on that exchange.
The exchange's keys.
Yeah, the exchange's keys.
Yeah.
So if something happens with that, you have no recourse.
So you're pretty much you're in charge of your own security. You have your words. You use your words to unlock the blockchain, and then when you're done, you put your words away, and if you want to go back into your chain, you need to use your words.
Yes. So here's where I think regulation should really play a larger part.
Okay.
Right now it's the Wild West, right? So if you hold your own keys, somebody can steal them. If you go to a bank from the Wild West, somebody, a bank robber can take your gold.
Yeah.
It's totally the Wild West right now.
Yeah.
And until you have that blanket security of like an FDIC of sorts for your bank account, it's right now it's prudent to pull your money off of the exchanges until there is decent amount of regulation.
Okay, so you said cold wallets, that's an external device. Is there anything like, say I don't want to purchase a cold wallet, but I do want to take my money off the exchange. Is there something else I can do?
Sure, you could have a certain, they have wallets that will work right off of your phone.
Oh, okay.
And so what I personally do is I put some money in there. So if I want to make a purchase for a haircut or something like that, I can have ready access to it. I personally don't think it's as secure because if you lose your phone and somebody gets your bio password or whatever, they can send that stuff out. So in that sense, I almost want a 2-tier layer of security where it's cold storage and I'm making an actual purchase and knowing that I'm doing it as opposed to having it just on my phone.
So why do these people, everyone I talk to, they always have it in the exchange? Is it that they just don't know? Or they just, I guess they're blind eye to it?
I think there's a complication to it, right?
Okay.
But if you take a step back and just look at how your own personal wallet, like that you hold your fiat currency in, you have a bank account and then you have this other wallet. Right?
Yeah, it keeps some cash.
So it's the same kind of concept. You're just pulling your money off of the exchange, and it's one more step. And interestingly enough, if you were to see that money actually flow from the exchange to your cold storage wallet, you're going to see how efficient the blockchain is or how not efficient the blockchain is, depending on what coin you're using. For example, Bitcoin right about now with the current nodes that are working, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to actually move that Bitcoin onto your wallet.
Wow.
So with faster blockchains, they can move within seconds.
So there's no pending, pretty much.
There's no pending. Once you hit the send and the exchange lets it go, it's within seconds, it's going to arrive in your wallet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so is it easy to do it? Is it like, or is it like, is it like complicated, or is the process simple for taking it off the exchange?
So once you understand the process, it's actually pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And I think there is a learning curve there, and I think that's a really good question because when you move this stuff around, you have to understand what you're actually doing and where it's going. If you send it to the wrong address, it's gone forever. It's gone to that address, and you can't pull it back.
Do each coin that you own in the exchange have their own unique address?
Yes, because each coin is from a different blockchain.
Gotcha.
So to identify that coin in that blockchain, you're going to have a unique address.
All right, so Joe Schmo 1 and Joe Schmo 2 will have two different addresses, even though they own the same coin.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So it's unique.
It's unique. Yep.
Okay.
In that sense, too, there's talk now that once the regulation gets pushed through and once you start to get some sort of insurances that are willing to insure the exchanges that are currently out there, that more people are going to just keep their money more on the exchange as opposed to the cold storage wallet. So that's as this whole arena gets matured, then you're going to have the adults in the room start to show up and fix some of these things that are just kind of the wild, wild west right now.
And it's going to be just like a phone number, pretty much.
Yep, it'll be a phone number, and people's phone numbers today. If they look at their cell phone and say, "Okay, I'm going to call Alex."
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember your phone number, but I just know I got to call Alex.
My name's there.
And that's how this is eventually going to work. I mean, at the lower end of the plumbing, you're going to see the actual addresses, but most people are just going to I'm just going to pay Alex.
So where we started, back in the Bitcoin days, it was very tough to purchase coins. Now we have more regulation with these exchanges, and now you're saying the step over that will just be pretty much my name being used, and it's going to go directly to my wallet.
Right.
Wow.
And then, so eventually what happens is if you're going to have a new payee, you say, okay, what's your address? You throw the address in, and then you pay that new payee out.
Just like that.
And it'll be pretty slick. It's much like DNS
Okay.
and TCP/IP.
Okay.
You don't go to a TCP/IP address to go to google.com. You go to Google
Directly.
and you go directly. And so the mechanism behind that is going to be much like the same that it will be in cryptocurrency.
So, to bring it back to these exchanges, so a centralized exchange and the distributed exchange. What's the difference between those two?
So the primary difference between the two is centralized. You're going to an entity, a person who owns the entity, and you're going to do an exchange there. There's another thing called a distributed exchange where no one necessarily runs it, but it's run out on the wire and it's completely machine automated. So if you want to exchange a given coin for a different coin, you could go and swap those out, and you can immediately swap it into a new coin and bring those coins back into your wallet.
So it sounds like no one's really regulating that aspect of it.
So I think from a distributed exchange, that's once you're in the cryptocurrency world. When you're in a centralized exchange, you're actually exchanging fiat or government
Issued
currency into a cryptocurrency. And once you get there, then you can go to a swap and go to where you need to go.
Wow.
From that
So
perspective.
different level.
It's different level, yeah. But I think if you have a lot of coins and then another entity needs a different type of coin, you could do something like that to exchange into the coin that they need.